What up to all the Patreon members, all the subscribers, all the new viewers? Hit that like button, share this video, check out the link in the description box below for the Patreon page. I'm going to make this video real quick. I'm going to dive a little bit into this article, but I'm really going to talk around this article. So I'm saying that in the beginning. I'm going to talk a little bit about this video, but I'm going to talk around it in general. Okay, so we have this young Thai male right here who is a con man. He's an Instagram con man, right? He didn't con anybody out of their money. Really, he conned women up out of their body, right? Pretending to be something that he's not on Instagram in order to get sex from women. And sounds like a lot of people today on social media. This isn't just an issue with him, but this is something that most people do around the globe. All right. Now they're saying he took it a step further and did this against their will, which is horrible. If he committed this vile act, then fuck him. Okay. Lock him up. You shouldn't be doing sexual things to women against their will. Okay. Now, if the women, and this is still up in the air, so I don't know, but if the women that came forth about this are stretching the truth and lying, right? You really started accusing him. You didn't accuse him until you found out he wasn't who he said he was. Then it's still wrong on his part, but at the same time, that's foul. That's foul to add a whole bunch of sauce to it just to try to get him locked up and in trouble. All right, so a Thai man claiming to be a wealthy, high society figure is accused of sexually assaulting at least 4 women after luring them isolated areas in Bangkok, according to a report filed with nonprofit organization. 2 victims, a 19-year-old university student and a 25-year-old employee of a private company, sought help from the group. It said 2 more men came forward after they shared their stories online. They held a press conference. The victim said the suspect portrayed himself as wealthy, frequently posting photographs on Instagram wearing luxury clothing and accessories. The student said the incident happened early on November 22nd after the suspect saw her social media posting showing she was out with friends in this area of Bangkok. After persistently messaging her, he convinced her to step outside the venue. She said he persuaded her to get in his vehicle and then drove her to a secluded spot where he allegedly R-worded her. She said he later threatened legal action if she reported the incident. The victim stated that he choked her, covered her mouth, and pulled her hair despite attempting to resist. She was overpowered, and the assault lasted around 40 minutes. The second victim said she was assaulted on November 21st. So that was 5 days ago. After meeting the suspect at a nightclub in Tong Lo area. I've been to Tong Lo. It's cool, right? They have some unique looking nightclubs over there. She accepted his offer to drive her home, but he insisted to take her into a dark street. He attempted to kiss her, but she rejected him. She tried to call friends for help, but he reportedly took her home before driving to another isolated location and attempted to essay her. She managed to escape when another car arrived nearby and a woman from that vehicle helped her leave the scene. The student has filed a complaint with the police station, while the second victim says she had not yet filed a report. Okay. They said it was 4 women, but they're only reporting 2 women in this article. All right, but the article says 4 women. Now, this is what I want to say. You know, if this happened in America, right, there's a lot of guys pretending on America, but there's ways in America to get your money up, right, to get your bag up. And I've talked about this on Patreon, so y'all want to hit that link to here. But I've said that if you're kind of down on funds, there's a way to make six figures or more, and or get close to six figures as possible. 95K. You're so close you could damn near say it is six figures. All right. And I talked about this on Patreon. One thing that God gave you, most of you that are listening, is strength. I think the average male is like 8 times stronger than the average woman. All right. So there are ways to use your strength in order to increase your salary. Now, here's the thing. Over in places like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, stuff like that, there really isn't an outing. You see what I'm saying? There really isn't a way out in many cases for somebody to go do what we can do in America in order to increase your salary. You could work hard and increase your salary a little bit, like maybe $500, $600, $700 a month, but not to the six-figure range. All right. So guys like him, they look at the women they want, and the women they want, they want the guys that have a certain amount of resources. All right. These are the women that go to Chulalongkorn University, Assumption University. They go to these high-end universities. They grew up in affluent neighborhoods, right? Or they just want the guys who have the resources. Over in Thailand, places like Thailand, wealth is flaunted and it's there advertised right in front of your face every single day. Since I've left in 2022, they've built several new malls that I haven't even been there yet. They built this new Louis Vuitton store that is insane. It's ridiculous, right? It's like a museum. I haven't even been there yet. I would like to go. Every which way you drive in Bangkok, and this happened in Bangkok, you just advertise. It's just wealth, money, Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Christian Dior, Balenciaga, everywhere you go, right? And remember, the malls, these are the hangout spots. The malls are kind of the hangout spots during the day. The night markets are kind of the hangout spots at night. But after the pandemic, they shut down some of these night markets. They got malls with Lamborghini dealerships inside, Rolls Royce dealerships inside, Porsche, Maserati. I don't really like Maserati. Aston Martin. No, actually, no, I don't think they have a Maserati dealership, but they do have Aston Martin, BMW dealerships inside the mall when you walk in, right? Wealth is advertised and flaunted everywhere, but there's a huge wage gap in that city. Some people, they just feel like, hey, man, I think I could just be a part of, the haves and the have-nots if I could just get a nice motorbike, a nice brand new motorbike. That would put me where I need to be. Some people feel that way, right? And I've told you before that women that I've dated that worked in customer service, retail, they said over in Thailand, the worst customers that they have are rich Thais, right? Very, very arrogant, snobby, rude. They talk down to them. I've heard this quite a bit. And, you know, some people, they just want a taste of wealth, a taste of money, right? To get access to better women, because in all actuality, these guys are getting priced out by men who travel over to Thailand. You work hard, you work 2 jobs, right? You found a way, you went through school, you got a certification. Now you're making 2,500 a month in Thailand. You beat the odds. That's a pretty good salary in Thailand. 2,500, that is a good salary for a lot of people. But then you got this guy coming from Germany, coming from the UK, well, plenty of men who make triple that amount in their home country, spending that money. And they're from the dominant society, and they have white skin, showing up, and their women are going, right? So in many cases, like, sometimes race relations, it's all about the whiteness of your skin and the money that you have in the bank. Sometimes the whiteness of your skin, that's just entry level, but it's the money that you have as well, right? Now, this right here, either way it goes, is some dirtbag shit. But let's analyze this article a little bit further, right? Let's move him to the side and think about this. There's a lot of guys on the internet pretending to be something that they're not. They're showing a lifestyle that they don't have on the internet. And guess what? When you portray yourself to be something that you're not on the internet, and you had that granted you sexual access to women that you couldn't have from before, when you were just being honest, they might say that's a sexual assault now. That could be a case now. I gave him access to my body on the notion that he owned this, that he had this kind of wardrobe, that he lived over here, that he was making this kind of money, that he owned this jewelry, right? That he drove this car, that he lived in this neighborhood. And he couldn't take me to that neighborhood because he doesn't have anything in that neighborhood. He wanted to fuck me outside. Now, I don't know what happened in the article, but here's the thing. You guys, going into 2026, this could happen to you. All right? This could happen to you. This could happen to anybody. This could happen to any man out there. So my advice is, if you don't have it and you need it in order to get access to the women in your area, my advice to you is either work harder to get it, or you got a passport, use it. Right? Go to Mexico, go to the DR, look on some of these websites where women are offering it up at a certain price. Do that. But presenting yourself in a way where it's like, okay, I'm a wealthy businessman. I'm a wealthy businessman looking for, the top 10% of women in my city, or the top 10% of women of their beauty in Miami, New York, LA, right? This can't be the top 10% because, in many cases, women women who come from that, they know what real money is. They I don't know how you could pretend your way. See, you don't really need much in Thailand to pretend. You need a little bit more in America, but there's still a lot of people pretending on social media, making it look good, right? This could be a charge. So just be yourself, or if being yourself isn't enough, you got a passport. Book your time off. Book your flight. Or you're going to have to work for it. You don't need to be the smartest person in the world. You don't need to invent something that's going to be life-changing. You don't really need to be super tech savvy. There's ways of increasing your salary, increasing your funds, if you want to get access to the women that you want, all right? Because I know all men pay. But at the end of the day, you see what he's doing in this article, not to that extent, fuck him, all right? Because what he did in this article, if it's true, is disgusting and justice should be served. But there's a lot of people pretending to be wealthy and pretending to have more than what they actually have in order to get access to women, right? Now, according to these women in their press conferences, I believe them because it's like, oh, okay, damn. They were willing to go to his house, but it's like, no, I'm not taking you home. I'm going to take you to a dark alley and fuck you back there. That's when the red flags broke out, right? Had he booked an Airbnb or something like that, it probably wouldn't have gotten to this point. If you would have had enough to have rented out an Airbnb in an area or in a neighborhood where you say you live in, then it probably wouldn't have gotten to this level. I don't know what kind of car you drove, right? But then you take him to a back alley. Now it's kind of like, okay, damn, he probably isn't who he say he is. He doesn't have a home. Now that would have worked in Canada because a lot of these women out here, they so freaky, they can't wait 10, 15 minutes to go back to your home to fuck. If they need it now, they're willing to fuck in a back alley outside of a club. I've seen it many times, right? Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatchewan, Brandon, Manitoba, Saskatoon. Yeah, these women, they fuck outside and then go back in the club to their boyfriends, or they scoop up a different guy and leave. I've seen it many times, all right? But that's not going to work over in Thailand. So I'm not really talking about him per se. I'm using this article to prove my point, to direct my point at you and everyone else, all right? If you ain't got it, that's fine. Get your passport, book your flight. If you ain't got it and you want it, you know, I can only tell you what I know. All right. I can really pretty much only tell you what I know. I've shared it many times on Patreon. There is a way to get it a little bit further. I'm not saying I just got it like that. Right. But those who are on Patreon, they know what I'm talking about. If you're a Patreon member, I've given solutions. Right? Now, is that going to give you a certain level of wealth? Are you going to be wealthy? Because in this article, it says that he portrayed himself as a wealthy businessman. No, right? Most of you guys that are listening, you have, you're not married, you don't have any kids for the most part. I can only tell you what I know. As a matter of fact, I've been talking about it for years, right? You remember that frog that was living in China that did a whole live stream about me and used one of my videos to talk down about something that I suggested for you guys to do. And he's like, oh, man, nobody wants to drive a fucking backhaul truck. I'm like, you know how much they make? You see what I'm saying? Do you know how much those guys make? So there is no issue. Like, if I'm suggesting that and you don't want to do it, then fine, right? It's not for everybody. But don't complain and then try to pretend to be something that you're not on the internet so that you can lie to women and get access to them only for them to find out that you're not who you say you are. And then now that's a charge. Flying women out, that's a charge. Pretending to be something that you're not, that's a charge. That's SA. So me telling you what I know, right, that could bump you up. And well, that's kind of like the low six-figure range tier. A high six-figure range would be like 600,000 or more. But between 110 and 300, like I have the information for that. I talk about that on Patreon. Right? But you don't have to do this. You don't have to do what this guy's doing. Right? And I believe these women. I don't want to minimize what it is that they went through, what they said, right? I don't want to act like they were lying. If you didn't go back to a home and this man took you to a dark alley, that's some other shit, right? But if you want to be able to pull up in the car that you want to pull up in that truck, you want to pull up in that Jeep, you want to pull up in that Porsche, you want to pull up in that GT, you want to pull up in that Benz, you want to pull up in that Beamer that you want to be able to pull up in a neighborhood that is gated, safe, quiet, with the square footage that make her eyes wide, right? I give plenty of information about obtaining that on Patreon. And I need to talk about it more, right? Because I do talk about other things on Patreon, but man, you don't have to do this, right? You do not have to do this. I don't like. I'm gonna be honest. Like, well, I'm saying I don't want to say too much on here. I don't want to say too much on here. I give the tools on Patreon in the next Patreon video that I make after this live stream right here. I'm gonna go more in depth because some of the other Patreon videos that I made, I've been talking about other things. But soon after I shut this down, that next Patreon video, which I'll make it tonight, right? I'll make it at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So, tomorrow, if that's too late tomorrow, you'd be able to listen to it on Thanksgiving, right? But I'm gonna go more in depth talking about it later on today because you don't have to do this. And then now I know there's a lot of guys that aren't even, they're not doing it like he's doing it in the article. What men are doing in America is innocent compared to what this guy did in the article. This is egregious in the article, but in America still, right? Still, America's doing a different level of this on social media every single day. And, you know, that can be a charge. So, anyways, I got to go. I'll see you guys on Patreon tonight. The article that I'm talking about, I forgot to promote in the beginning. The link is in the description box below. The article for this is in the description box below. Okay, so I don't know what you're into. You know, if you want that boat that you want, if you want that motorcycle that you want, you want that jet ski that you want, right? If you want to be able to fund an entire vacation and not spend a dime until that following month, you know, it's like, with this flight, the hotel, I'm probably going to have to drop at least, you know, in the hotel that I want to stay at, I'm probably going to have to drop at least $4,000. Hey, man, and you probably already know how to do it. I don't have to tell you. You don't have to spend a dime on it. And you can put yourself on a little payment plan until you're comfortable with paying it off. But some people is just like, hey, man, they want to go on a vacation and relax and not have to think about, damn, I just subtracted $4,000 out of my account and then I got to spend more money when I get over there. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. All right? You know, I've talked about that on here. I've talked about that on Patreon. There are ways where it's like, hey, set it, forget it, you know, pay $200. Pay $200 towards this balance starting next month, starting January 3rd. You know what I'm saying? I've talked about that many times, right? The money that you have right now, use that for food and access to women when you travel, right? So, anyways, I'm over and I'm out. You guys take care. I'll see you guys tonight on Patreon. I hope to see you there. Peace.